For a long time, I thought I was trusting God with my life after divorce. And I was. That part was true. But what I didn't see, and what God had to stop me mid sentence to show me, is that I was also handing something to my ex that was never his to hold. Every decision I delayed, every move I didn't make, every next step I put on pause, waiting for him to cooperate or decide or to show up differently first. I didn't know I was doing it. It was running completely on autopilot in the background. And then God asked me a question, 7 simple words, and I have not been able to stop thinking about it since. I'm going to tell you exactly what they are. Let's go. Hi, welcome to Beyond Believing. I am Katie Ann. Today, I want to speak to 2 women. The woman who is still telling the story of what he did, replaying it, carrying it, measuring every new day against it. And the woman who has told herself she is over it, but is still waiting quietly for him to make a move before she makes hers. Both of you are running the same pattern, and neither of you quite yet knows it. I want to tell you what this looked like for me, because I did not think I was someone who gave my power away. I had done real work after divorce. I was not sitting in bitterness. I was not chasing him or waiting for him to come back. I was moving forward, building, healing, showing up for my children, growing in my faith. By every measure I could see, I was a woman who had taken her life back. And I had a story I would tell myself about everything he did and did not do. But here is what I could not see. Every time something was uncertain in our co-parenting, when he hadn't responded, when his plans changed at the last minute, when something was up in the air, I would go still. Not dramatically, just internally. What is he going to do? What does this mean for my week? What do I do now that he has decided this? His behavior was the first variable in my equation, and I had written it that way without ever deciding to. Now, let me speak to the other woman in this room, the one who would say she is absolutely not waiting on him. She is focused on her children, on her work, on her calling. She is not thinking about him romantically. She has genuinely moved forward in so many areas of her life. But when he cancels with her kids, her whole day reorganizes. When he makes a decision without consulting her, her peace disappears for hours or days. When he shows up a certain way with the children, her emotional state follows his lead, whether she chooses that or not. Her decisions about what is possible in her life are quietly written around what he is or is not doing. She is not chasing him, but she is still organized around him. And here is what both of these women have in common. And I want you to hear this before I tell the story because it changes what that story means. These women are strong, faithful, praying women who are genuinely doing the work. But neither one has recognized that somewhere in the background of her daily life, she handed the pen to someone who already left the room. I was recently on a call with a woman who had been in litigation with her ex-husband for 8 years. 8 years, still in the court system, still fighting, still circling the same arguments in the same rooms with the same lawyers. And she was not passive about it. She was activated, fully engaged in the battle, tracking every move he made, cataloging every tactic, ready with a response to every action he took. And as I listened to her, I asked her to picture a version of herself who walked into that courtroom grounded, not reactive, not gaslit, not at the mercy of his next maneuver, but commanding the room from a place of clarity and peace. And she looked at me like I was describing a completely different person. She could not see that version was possible for her. not because she lacked intelligence or faith or desire to be free, but because she had been living inside that story for so long, his tactics, behavior, his next move, that she genuinely could not locate herself outside of that. She was not the subject of her own life anymore. She was responding to his. And when I gently said, "What if the change begins with you?" she could not accept that because she was not looking for a way to change herself. She was looking for a way to finally change him. Now, that story is not about a courtroom. That story is about every woman has decided, consciously or not, that her next move has to wait on his. Now, God did not correct me with a rebuke. He did not give me a list. He asked me a question. 7 simple words. Who really has power over your life? Ooh, talk about a sucker punch. It hit me like a dagger to the heart. Not who should have power, not who do you wish had power, who really has the power right now, today. Not based on your theology, but on how you are actually living your daily life. Because when I looked at my actual decisions, not the ones I made in church or in prayer, but the ones I made on a Tuesday afternoon when he didn't respond and I went still, the honest answer was not the one I had been giving in my journal. I knew the right answer. I had known it for years. Little children, you are from God and have overcome them, for he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. That's 1 John 4:4. And I had quoted that verse, written it in my journal, spoken it over my children, even put it on a coffee mug, theoretically. I was living, though, like his next decision was more powerful than the Spirit of God inside me. Not because I didn't believe that verse, but because I had never applied it to this specific, quiet, daily autopilot of waiting for him to move before I moved. Now read it slowly with me. He who is in you, not watching over, not available when you ask, residing in you right now, this moment, is greater, not comparable, not in competition, but greater than he who is in the world. Anything, circumstance, behavior, tactic, any decision your ex makes or refuses to make, any court system or co-parenting dynamic, any next move you have been waiting on. The Spirit of God does not need his cooperation to move in your life. That is not a motivational statement. That is a theological fact with daily, practical, Tuesday afternoon implications. And here is what I want you to understand about why this pattern starts. You did not choose this consciously. You did not sit down one day and decide to organize your life around someone who left it. This happened the way all autopilot happens, quietly, over time, in the accumulation of small moments where his behavior produced your response, and you never stopped to ask whether it had to. The woman on that call had been doing it for 8 years and could not see it. I had been doing it and called it co-parenting. You may have been doing it and called it being responsible or realistic or just dealing with what is. But here is what God was asking me and what he's asking you. Who really has power over your life? You get to choose the answer. Taking your power back does not mean his choices stop affecting your life, because they will, and they do. Your children share a father with a man whose decisions have real consequences. That is not going away. This episode is not asking you to pretend otherwise. What it is asking you is this: who is directing your response? Here is what it looks like when she is living from this place. When he cancels, she does not wait to feel steady until she knows what he is going to do instead. She makes a decision from where she is with what she has, from what God has put directly in front of her. not dependent on his next move, not reorganizing her entire week around his instability. She responds to what is actually there, not to the story she is telling about what it means. When he does something that affects the children, she addresses what is actually in front of her, not what it says about him as a person, not what it proves about the marriage, not what it means for the next 5 years. What is in front of her today, and what does God have for her in it? When she is tempted to delay a decision, a next step, a financial move, a personal choice, she asks one question. Am I waiting on God's timing, or am I waiting on my ex's cooperation? Those are not the same thing, and only one of them is worth waiting for. The woman who lives this way is not unaffected. She is not performing a piece she doesn't have. She is not pretending he is someone different than he actually is. She is simply no longer letting his choices write the first line of her response. And here is what I have watched happen in women who make this shift, including myself. It is not that his behavior changes. Sometimes it does, eventually. But that is not the point, and it is not the promise. The point is that she changes. Her days are no longer organized around his predictability. Her peace is no longer held hostage to his cooperation. Her next chapter is no longer dependent on his character finally catching up to what she needs it to be. She stopped waiting for him to cooperate to live her life. And she discovered something that I want you to hear clearly before we close today. The moment she stopped giving him that power, she did not feel less. She felt more herself, more grounded, more able to actually hear what God was saying into her situation. Because the noise of this story had been drowning it out. You are not powerless. You have never been powerless. The Spirit of God lives in you, not beside you, not watching from above, in you. And He is greater than anything your ex has done, decided, refused to do, or failed to become. And the question I want you to carry out of this today is the same one God asked me. Where am I still waiting on Him when God has already given me everything I need to move? This is the work that I do in my coaching, not to be the answer, but to point you to the one who is, to remind you that you have access to everything you truly desire, and to help you begin living like it today. If that conversation is one you are ready to have, you can apply for coaching at coachkatieann.com/call. The link is in the show notes. And next week, I want to talk about something that follows directly from what we covered today, because once I understood where I had been giving my power away, God showed me something about the strength I had been using to hold everything together while I was doing it. I think it is going to surprise you. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you then.